Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. Sat means truth, logos means a study or science, Sattology means the science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which comes from the root Sanskrit word myth, which means a fake lie imagination. So mythology means a study or science of fake lie or imagination. There has been so many proofs of the Indian ancient literatures, or literature is a bad word, but in Sanskrit it's called Shastra, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Itihas, that the Western world, which ran the propaganda of mythology against them, is itself reading them to prove their own identity, which is the funniest thing else, actually. So you call something as a fake, but then you use it to create your own identity. So that's why the Western civilization is questioning itself because they have no proof of their history. The Greek history has been proven to be exaggerations, and a lot of it is mythology. Roman history has been proved to be mythology. And even the ancient Egyptian history has proved to be mythology with no historical basis. And then what to speak of the religions which use that history as the basis of their identity. I have a very, very special guest today, Professor Bajpai. He's a vice chancellor of a prominent university in India. So without delay, let us welcome Namaskar and welcome to the show.
Aditya ji, namaskar. Thank you.
So one of the things which comes into the play is Loka Sangraha and Lokpal and Loktantra. And those of you who do not understand, these are the ancient Sanskrit words and philosophies which meant for the benefit of every single human and animal, birds, reptiles, and everyone else who lives, and also achara. Achara means things which do not walk, like rocks and nature, prakriti. So how is Lokatantra, or the system of doing Loka Sangraha, is different than the modern democracy? You're a professor of economics, so you know better than anyone else.
Actually, it's just a coincidence, Aditya. Today I spoke in one of the refresher courses jointly organized by the Central University of Lucknow, Jodhpur University, and Babasaheb Ambedkar University of Mao. That was just connecting spirituality and democracy. And I spoke for 1 hour together, just explaining the concept of democracy. We see today's democracy, which generally we inherit from the French Revolution, which believes that we should have fraternity, liberty, and equality, and some voting rights should be given to the individual, that to individual men only. There has been, you see, a lot of debate whether women also should be given equal weights or not. And I think, to the best of my knowledge, today also some countries don't give equal franchise to women. Somewhere half vote, somewhere quarter vote to see women as such. And there has been discussion since long that see whether women too have got life in them because their origin is entirely different. Whereas in India, democracy does not mean that type of democracy in which we are having some written constitution. Written constitution. Number two, there should be independent judiciary. And third, there should be executive, and there should be some procedure to elect people's representatives in parliament and you see legislative assemblies. So legislative power, judiciary power, and executive power, they will be you see selected or elected by any process laid down by the constitution. They'll be entirely different. They will just constitute one particular group, and entire democratic forces will be in the hands of these handful group of persons sitting in the judiciary or sitting in the legislative assemblies, parliaments, or in the executive, which we call bureaucrats like that. And common people's interest will be at par. They'll be see, totally different. And the responsibility of which you call it Lok Sangraha or Lokpal or Lok Kalyan, Loktantra. Loktantra means Lok means common people, total common combine together the Lok Kalyan of the world, global Lok Kalyan, maybe all is 786 crore population of the world as such, they can also constitute universe for you see Lok Kalyan as such. But within country, everyone, everyone shall have you see, equal chance to be included in the process of development, whether he is men or women, or is a young, old, or is he a child, or is he may be man or inanimate. If you rightly said, achar and achar. Achar means who cannot move, immovable, like you see, parvat, mountains. They too have you see life as such. Char means there may be animals, there may be trees, there may be river systems, there may be mountains, there may be other universal environmental elements. And the basic comes from our own religious thought as such, which we call that Ishwar is existing everywhere. The omnipresence of God in all parts, entire animate and inanimate world is the basic foundation of Indian thinking. And we don't discriminate between man means animate, entire animate world and inanimate world. We call it Ishwar, Anshar, Jeev, Avinashi. We say Sarva Khalumidam Brahma. We have said Am Brahmasmi. We have said Soham Asmi. We have said Tattvamasi. We have said Pragyanam Brahma. These all things have been originated from this things only. So the democracy concept is coined by so-called intellectuals, especially the French intellectuals. They will say coined just to provide some fundamental rights to the individual, because they were devoid of rights. They were not given due rights from the state. Here in India, the rights are imbibed with the individuals with their duties only. If you are performing your duties properly, you will just protecting, preserving the rights of the other group which is in your contact. If father is performing his duties, so the rights of children are automatically protected. If husband is performing his duties, the rights of rights of wife is protected. Similar is the case if entire subject or people of any country are performing their duties properly. So the interest of the state will be protected automatically. And the state is performing its duties properly, then the interest, Lok Kalyan, Lok Sangrah, Lok Hit will be protected automatically if state is performing its duties properly. So in democracy, we are just laying down more emphasis on the duties rather than rights as such. So our democracy means it is a spontaneous one. In Lok Kalyan, or in this Lok Hit or Lok Sangrah, there is no imposition from outside. In democracy, in today's democracy, everything should be written down. If you are not performing your duties, there should be some excellent authority to act, to take action against you. In Lok Kalyan, there is nobody else. You yourself are to decide your own duties. You are yourself to decide the punishment and pleasures. The rewards are so for yourself. So our Lok Kalyan or Loktantra is based upon the voice of the soul, the voice of the conscience. Our inner conscience dictate that, Baba, you should do this thing, you should not do this thing. And that conscience, that soul is omnipresent everywhere in all the persons of the world, whether in America or in the UK or in Japan or in India or Pakistan, everywhere. If you are doing good, your conscience will approve it of. If you are doing bad, your conscience will say, no, you must not do it. You must not do it. If you are listening to your conscience, you are moving towards Loktantra. That is the real Lok. Yes, Aditya.
And there is a very common saying in USA that if you put a responsibility on a group, that means nobody is responsible. And the responsibility always lies with the individual. And if you look at Mahabharata, the conversation between Bhishma and Satyavati, when they were looking for a ruler, even Bhagavad Puran, if you go back, then Vena and later on the Rishis, they were looking for a leader. And so Prithu Maharaj was born from there through the Rishis. Now, we all see that the appointment of a trained leader is extremely important in Lokatantra. But in democracy, it is not. Democracy is an American concept where democracy in America became successful when European settlers became more in number than the Native American populations, and that was in 1908. So the democracy relies on charisma and the power of influence and money. That was relying. But Lokatantra is built on qualification of the leader, which is very different. Now, there are no trained schools in ethics training of a political leader. And I'm talking about ancient civilization like that of Bharat, where we have a tradition of democracy or Lokatantra from the very beginning of creation, including our devatas are appointed based on qualification, based on punya karma they have acquired over the years. So the qualification now, when we look at the British style democracy, which is Westminster democracy, they call it. Now, that is also built to protect the monarch. I mean, monarch is unquestionable in the British Parliament, and the Queen is still the head of the state, and she's the head of the state of Australia and Canada, and also University of State of Pennsylvania in the US and Maryland. So now, when we look at the Western style of democracy and the Indian style of Lokatantra, there are stark differences out there. Most of the Western democracies are meant to promote the rights of the European settlers generally. Now it is changing a lot. In America, it is changing now. For the first time now, the minorities are being considered also in the electoral space. But the importance of choosing a trained leader is important. There are no virtually courses to train a politician. What do you have to say on that?
Actually, Aditya, it's very difficult also to train a politician because uh, politician or no, see, politician you can even train. Politician you can create. You can have some schools of creating politicians. But so far as leaders are concerned, leaders are born. Leaders, there cannot be any school of training leaders because there is basic difference. Because politician is interested in contesting elections and winning elections. Politician is interested in sitting in the parliament and framing rules and regulations. Politician is interested in creating an artificial atmosphere around him so that he can serve himself and serve the persons around him. This is ultimate, and his ultimate objective is to do whatever which suits to him just to win over his next election. Sooner he gets elected in the present election, he starts thinking about the next election as well. Whereas leader is not like that. Leader is not like that. Leader is to lead. Leader is to establish certain parameters in the society so that the society grows. He does not think about himself. He is not at all worried whether he is to contest election or he is not to contest election. He is to win election or he is not to win election for the next 5 years, next 10 years. He is thinking just about the society by and large is at his control. I'll give one example. Nehruji may be interested in becoming the Prime Minister of India. Jinnah may be interested in becoming the Prime Minister of Pakistan. But Gandhiji was not interested in anything. Gandhi was leader of the society. When Gandhi was speaking anything, everybody was listening to him and joining his slogan is against Britishers. He was a leader. He had a following. Politician may or may not have a following, and politician may be a people's representative. Politician may not be see people's see leader as such. So leaders, there should be following. Leaders think about the society by and large. Leaders don't think about the present only. Leaders think about the future generations also. Leaders don't think about themselves. Leaders think about the society, the country, the problems of the country as a whole. So, to me, you see, there cannot be school so far as teaching leaders is concerned. Generally, people have got some spark in them. They have got, see, in Hindu mythology, we know that we carry out our sanskaras from previous births. So from previous births only suppose sanskars are there. So they can be developed, and certain role models, they see the role models around. As we just take the example of Gandhi Ji only. Gandhi Ji had those sparks of truthfulness in his brain since childhood. That's why he denied the instruction of his teacher that go and take this notes, that they did this copy, you're committing error in this examination. He said no, because he has got sanskaras in his body. Then he saw the film of Sri Harishchandra. Then he always came into contact. Then he started reading Gita, wherever he was developing himself. And that he became the leader, not only the Indian leader, he developed as a world leader, established leader for time immemorial. In the whole world, you see, worship, see, Gandhi. Similar, maybe the case of see, many other like Nelson Mandela is there, and many other leaders of the world are there. So leaders are just see developed automatically, and sometimes circumstances also force you to get your innate talent of leadership come out. Here, like you see in India, when there was freedom struggle, so many leaders came out just for the freedom struggle. In 1976, when there was see, imposition of emergency in India, in 76 around, I'm correct, I think. So you'll just see so many persons came out, those circumstances, like Jayaprakash Narayan. Jayaprakash Narayan was a leader. He was a leader. But this circumstance in 1976 gave him opportunity to provide his leadership. And he came out with the concept Sampurna Kranti asset. In India, we had to say Ram Manohar Lohia ji also. Ram Manohar Lohia was a strong leader. He was a leader. He was not a politician. Though he was getting elected, he was in the parliament, everywhere. But he was a leader. The Atal Bihari Bajpai was a leader. He was a politician. He was getting election. Somewhere he was losing, somewhere he was winning. But he never thought to get elected every time. He was doing for the nation. And then only he can take, or any leader can take strong and bold decisions, whether he is going to get elected next time or not, irrespective of that. That comes the true leadership. We just think of that particular course. Had you see Atal Bihari Bajpai thought that while getting this nuclear power explosion test as such, and the entire world will be against him. Any politician cannot take this type of decision, cannot afford to take decision to make entire world the world against that particular decision. But Atal Bihari Vajpayee took that decision, and he knew that some emergency will be imposed, some sanctions will be imposed upon India, and India had to face impositions also. But that was, he got over from those things. So there is a basic difference between politician and leaders. This today's system is based upon politicians only. This is just a matter of great worries. Leaders shall have to be spiritual. Leaders shall have to be culture and structure specific. Leaders shall have to think about the Lok Sangrah or Lok Kalyan or Loktantra for future generations only. And you'll find say everywhere these type of leaders come out. Yes, Aditya.
So you mentioned that leaders are born and managers are created. That's what you said.
Yes,
Now, the uh, in if you look at the again, I am going back to Ramayana, Mahabharat, because those are the golden historical texts we have,
yes, yes, yes.
and also the Middle history. Also, I'll go Martanda Varma, one of my personal heroes, Martanda Varma. So, if you look at the history of them, they were born into families which have ruled for generations. Martanda Varma and all the Pandavas, they had a rich history. It was in their genes. Like they were, like you can say, that they had no other profession in mind other than to do Loka Kalyan or Loka Sangraha. There's no other option. And their mothers had trained him like that. And mothers play a very important role in the development of a child. If a child becomes dharmic, it's because of the mother, and because father is always working, very natural way to look at it. Now the if you look at the role of mothers, you look at the role of Kunti, you look at the role of Kaushalya, big reasons. If you look at the role of Marthandavarma's mother, they were all instrumental in bringing the dharmic values and the predominance of dharmic values in their lives of their own children. So the leaders are created by the mothers actually, and then the education, formal education starts, which is the job of a father to make them, if the child is inclined towards that, then further enable him or her to learn so that he can do, because without skills you cannot run be a good politician without skills, without having practical skills. So both are important, the family values as well as the skills. But when we talk about, when we look at the history from Ramayana and Mahabharata, and we compare it today, the value based leadership is very rare. Very rarely you'll find person who is consistent in the values, and those who are become the prime ministers of the country. Very few are there. But we need leadership at the small levels also, where at the district level, like therefore the concept of panchayat is coming from Mahabharata and also Manusmriti. People may not like Manusmriti nowadays because of the mispropaganda, but it is still coming from there, because that's the essential core aspects there of mentioned over there. And also people are very much against the Varna Vyavastha. If I speak about it, people immediately comes to the caste based thing. Well, caste is a European word. It's nothing to do with India. India is a Varna Vyavastha, which is like built on qualification and education. So the both sides are important. One is the family values, which a child has to be trained from the very beginning. Like just an example of a soccer team. So America they call soccer, India they call football. A child has to be trained from the age of 5 to become a good football player. Otherwise, he doesn't become. Same if you look at the example of Dhruva, he was trained from the age of 5. The first thing Narad Muni met him at the age of 5. He wanted to get a kingdom greater than Brahma. He told him to go north and chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the what do you have to say on the family structures to build these natural leaders, like who can focus on Loka Sangraha? Otherwise, when you have power, corruption automatically comes in because you have the power to manipulate others, either through money or through position. So, what do you have to say on that? Because in the multi party democracy or the party based democracy, the party's goal becomes an individual goal, which is a very, very problematic concept. What do you have to say on that?
Yes, Aditya, from your statements, I could just call two valid points. One about the Varna Vyavastha, another the leadership, family background, everything. You see, when we are talking about leaders, na, so it appears that leaders means prime minister, leader means president, leader means parliament, leader means legislative assembly, like that only. I'll ask one question. See, can't a farmer be a leader? Can't a scientist be a leader? Can't a professor be a leader? Can't a vice chancellor be a leader? Can't you see an expert on Sattology, be a leader who can lead discussions on the Sattology issues. We are simply forgetting that you see, leadership does not mean that political leadership only or statesmanship only. One thing. Secondly, Varna Vyavastha, Lord Krishna himself used to say that Varna Maya system, Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, taking the qualifications, the Guna and Karma. Initially, I have created these four Varnas. It has nothing to do with the caste system. Simple, there are simple different sections of society. On the basis of their deeds, the persons who were just busy in teaching, doing researches, reading and writings, imparting education different, they were called Brahmins. And the persons who were just believing in protecting the society by their power, physical power like that, mental power, intellectual power, the Brahmins, physical power, maybe Kshatriyas, and monetary power by earning business like that, Vaishyas, and by serving the society in different forms, maybe called as shooter. But they were actually the leaders of different sections. Brahmins were leading society in different manner. Kshatriyas were leading society in different manner. Vaishyas are leading the society in different manner. And Shudras also leading the society in different manner. And there was no clash between all these four. They were all combining together for this Lok Kalyan or Lok Ahit or Loktantra as such. There was a four big pillars of Loktantra, four biggest foundations of Loktantra, where there was no clash between the duties and rights of different sections of society. Uh, they were just depending on each other. There was interdependence upon all these sections of society for the welfare of the society as a whole. So this thing will have to keep into mind as well. Secondly, family background is okay because I agree to this particular point that a boy, a girl is born in a particular family because of his or her own previous birth's accumulated sanskaras. Because I'm a Pakka Hindu, Pakka Sanatani, and I believe, or everybody believes, you too also believe, that there is a role of previous birth sanskaras. The soul, has got different sanskaras of punya and papa karma of previous births. That gets value coded, and the soul selects the time, the soul selects the family, the soul selects the place where it has to take birth as such. So in that sense only, if a soul of any soul of any powerful can descends in any family background, so that that will begin automatically. Then comes the role of family. Certainly, the role of mother is more important than than that of father. But we all know so many cases in which like Tulsidas, we can call as a leader of all poets. As such. When he was born as such, his mother died, his father also died. He was just an orphan, moving from one place to the other place. No place to sit, nothing to eat. Some Chunia Dasi helped him, reared him. She also died at an early age. But he developed himself and he became one of the laureate of India, Ramcharit Manas, like Granth he has given. So because his previous sanskaras, words of previous sanskaras are so powerful, then he became a poetess. Similarly, the case of Shivaji. Similarly, the case of so many other leaders also. So it's a combination of so many things. We cannot give one factor, but the most important factor is the sanskars of an individual boy or girl with which she or she descends. And I'll give you, when the Ram is the greatest leader, what do you think that? It is simply Shangi Rishi coming and performing yajna through Dasharatha, and you see Ram is born. No, there is lot of tapasya Manu Satrupa has done just to see that Ram is avatar. There is shop of Narad Muni also, which is responsible for avatar of Ram. Ram himself wants to come down because he's a god. He's a god. जब जब होए धर्म की हानि यदा यदा हि धर्म से ग्लानि भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानम अधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्. He himself is descending on the earth as a leader. Krishna as a leader, Buddha as a leader, Mahavir as a leader. They are avatars. They take birth on their own asset. Similar is the case of all individuals, the good leaders or bad leaders. Yes, Adil.
The the it's a problem, global problem, where the party lines or even the good leaders, whether they agree or not, have to follow the party line. It's a global problem. It's not just Indian problem, it's everywhere. But the selection of candidates, it's also the party problem. Because when you elect a leader or elect a representative to be elected amongst the people, most of the times what happens in the modern democracy is that you can buy votes with money. American election is the worst in that case, where you can buy votes by money. It's all what I mean in USA, the amount of dollar raised directly is proportional to the votes you're going to get. So $1 means one vote. So people focus on fundraising more than the vote. In the Indian election, the vote still counts, unfortunately, and fortunately, I would say fortunately, still counts. Money is still not the major force in the Indian elections. So but we are gradually moving to that direction where we can buy the votes out, just like America does. So the point is that should the leaders be the candidates who are going to be the leaders or representatives of the people, there should be a moral check on them. It's a problem is still in the West. In the West also there's the same problem. It's in the East also the same problem, which leads to a question that the modern democracy is faulty. In Loktantra, the character of a person who is selected to lead is more important than anything else. That's the major difference between Loktantra and democracy. So what do you have to say on that?
Actually, there must be a check on credentials of the candidates. Here, you'll remember there was one chief election commissioner was Session. You see, Session, well before session and after session. Session put, lot of barriers on electioneering. He put maximum limit of expenditure also in elections. He put, some checks on bad persons coming to see politics as well as getting elections like that. He did a lot. Well, before that, this party in power was just doing whatever they wanted to do. And this election commission was just a puppet of party in power. He himself, taking all the constitutional power, say that no, the chief election commission is an independent authority. First time independence of election commission was made realized by session in the hands as such. So one thing. Secondly, I do agree with you with your statement that in India, a lot of things are happening also. Supreme Court also has come out with many judgments that the persons who are having some bad records, if they are some cases are lodged against him, so they cannot contest elections. And some barrier on expenditure also put. If suppose persons who are having bad credentials in the society, they can also they can also not fight elections like that. But it becomes a vicious circle, like that. A person. Vicious circle is that persons who can win elections, they're not good, and the persons who are good, they cannot receive in elections. So it becomes a problem for all parties. Here, In India also we are having a party like Bharatiya Janata Party or Congress Party or Sapa, Baspa, many regional parties are also coming. So they say that the persons who are having visibility in that constituency, for visibility, it's not merely the history sheeters who are coming and getting elections, but also the film heroes and heroines. They are also given the tickets by different parties. These are see cricket players, sports leaders. They are also coming and getting ticket because they think that this visibility of these candidates amongst the people can fetch see votes in their direction. But in India, I'll tell you there is a complete legacy as such. Legacy was that when these gurus and babas thought that if they can ask the candidates to win the election, why not they come out and getting elected directly? So in parliament, state assemblies also, you will find there was a rush of these babas and bapus and maulvis also joining the politics directly. When the industrialists thought that we are paying money to the political leaders to get the elections elected, why not we directly? So there was a rush of direct industrialists joining the politics, either direct through parliament or through Rajya Sabha or being nominated as such. So they also began. When these gundas, who were having the muscle power with them, they say every time these political leaders are coming to me and seeking my help for an election, can't we directly join politics? So they also jumped to the politics. So the babas, the gundas, the business persons, they are coming to the politics. Then they just change their color. Simply they are changing color when they are going to see electioneering process. They pretend to be very good, very pious, very scrupulous persons, and people get to see attracted towards that. But afterwards, sooner they are elected, they see come out with their own original colors of which is naturally full of corruptions and everything, and entire politics, entire democracy gets diluted. But I think if society is arisen, if society is awake, say no, come what may, will not elect this person. And here also it becomes a problem. In democracy, there is a problem, majority and minority. Suppose if we are just giving votes to different individuals, so many individuals may not become persons of one party. So there will be multi-party and there will be hung parliament or hung assembly. Again, it will come to go to the elections like that. There's so many problems as such. But here I would like to say the things which we started at the beginning, that individuals themselves, again it comes to the Loktantra. In Loktantra, it is not the others who are going to dictate your conscience. You should yourself think that whether you are befitting to be candidate for parliament, befitting candidate for leading the society, then you should join politics. Otherwise, you should have your own business. Go for teaching, go for agriculture, go for farming, go for rearing animals. That too is equally serving the society, as serving the nation. This is in crux I would like to say. Yes, Aditya.
You know, the the entire emphasis of itihas like Ramayana, Mahabharata is to create a very thinking leader, and you correctly said it has to be at all levels, including mother is the first leader,
Yes,
father
yes,
is the first teacher. It is the first pratham guru is always the mother, and the and Vyasdev says it. So it is it is a axiomatic truth. Vyasdev has said it also, and the and also of all the ashram, grahastha ashram is considered the most challenging as well as the most rewarding, both ways, because it is a very difficult task to raise a child and a family, and it is a lot of pains are there, and that's why more and more people are not marrying nowadays in the West. And in Japan, the negative population growth shows that the people are running away from responsibility. They want to enjoy whatever they can, but don't want to take responsibility. Now, similarly, leadership is also a very responsible act where you are taking care of the people under you, which is has to be done like a father. And that's why the Lokpal is the president's name in Mahabharat Kal is Lokpal, not president, Rashtrapati. That was not the, because you are not Rashtrapati. Isha Vasyam is all, Isha is the Rashtrapati. We all like Marthanda. That's why I say Marthanda Varma is my hero, because he gave his kingdom to Padmanabh Swami, and he was acting as an assistant to Padmanabh Swami for Lok Sangraha. And the Dutch and the French, they fought for him against their own people, and that was a leadership that he showed over there. So I think that consciousness has to come in. So we are all representatives of Isha or Ishwar. And so my question to you is, if we work in that consciousness, won't we create better leaders?
I think with that only we can create the best leaders. Only problem is that whether we are the owner or we are the trustee. If you are having that is the concept of trustee, that feeling of the trustee as such, then our entire approach will be totally different as such. And if you are saying that we are the owner, we are the Swami of everything, then our approach will be different. So, as you say that Ishavasya Drashti is one of the most important drashti through which we can lead ourselves and we can lead the society as such. That God is the ultimate owner of all sources, and He is the owner of we people also, me also. And if He gives and He dictates to see anything, we should try to see abide by those dictates, which are not to see for myself, but for sacrificing for the others. That is the Lok Kalyana, Lok Sangrah. At the cost of our own individual instinctual pleasure, self-interest. If the interest of the soul, interests of the soul means interests of the soul, which are converted into the interest of society, by and large, at my own sacrifices, then only the better society can be built up, better nation can be built up. And this is how you can be a good leader also. If a leader cannot sacrifice, if a leader cannot sacrifice his own pleasures, his own treasures, his own prestige, his own power, he cannot be leader and he should not be called as a leader as such. He'll be as an employee of any organization, of any corporate world. Today world also we are having all these implies of the corporate world, not the leaders. Yes, Aditya.
One of the important questions on Narad Muni to Yudhishthir was that, is your praja or the population which you're ruling are able to solve the essential problem of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, birth, old age, disease, and death? And Yudhishthir says yes. So he maintained so much peace at the, he fought with everyone to maintain peace in his praja so that they can successfully complete their cycle of moksha, so that they can all go back to higher destinations of life in the next life. That was the purpose of ruling. That is the purpose of governance, actually, in Lok Sangraha. So you need economic prosperity, you need all kinds of prosperity, but what is the goal? So that that person becomes free from karma bandhan. He has less tension so that he can focus on the actual goal of human life. And that purpose is totally lost today. Nobody talks about it. Dharma, artha, kam. That's what the society is running on. So the if India has to become the world leader, they have to show this in practice, that their people are not only strong militarily and they can protect themselves very hard, but also the general people are happy because they're moving towards removing their karma bondage. What do you have to say on that and end the discussion here?
Well, actually, I do agree with you, Aditya, that India is the only country which has given purpose of life as such. and we call it that Purushartha Chatushtaya. Purushartha Chatushtaya, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and see Moksha as such. So these are the Purushartha means a Purusha se Artha is the Purushartha. In one of your shows, I have just explained say like that only. So Dharma, Artha, and Kam, they are common for see other persons also, like see inanimate world also. We are having the dharma of trees also, dharma of animals also, dharma of you see rivers also, dharma of mountains also. They too see perform their you see natural dharma. They have the natural artha, also natural kama also there. The moksha is the only thing which is distinct for you see men only, men, women or human beings only. You see, the men are you see born just to obtain see, moksha as such. But moksha is that you see sense of realizing liberation, realization of see, liberation as such. And that realization of liberation comes also after attaining see most of these see mundane objectives also. As you also that grahastha dharma is the most important dharma as such. We are having see that brahmacharya, that childhood, grahastha, then vanaprastha and sannyasa. The brahmacharya, vanaprastha and sannyasa, all three are depending upon see grahastha, because grahastha, dharma, artha, kam. Dharma, artha, kam, three you see purusharthas are being obtained through you see grahastha dharma only. Then for moksha, vanaprastha and sannyasa, you see are being see taken as such. But for moksha as such, moksha is simple. It's not so simple. Moksha is not anything to be purchased in the market. Like we purchase, you see, some vegetables or fruits or you see wine like that. Moksha, for moksha also there is a lot of perseverance is required for you see, obtaining this moksha lectures. And for that also, we'll have to liberate ourselves from different bondages. Their bondages of the body. Bondage the body means we'll have to make the body without any diseases, disease-free body. Disease-free body will have to have all these health services. In India also, Ayurveda was created just to see that your body is liberated from all diseases. निरोगी काया करने के लिए. Similarly, the bondage of mind is also our entire intellect, our shastras. Yes, you are a master of different shastras. You know everything from see, Vedic literature to Ramayana, Mahabharata, and latest you also creating shastras. Shastras is liberating. You see, mind. The clots of minds are getting you see liberated through study of you see shastras like that. And similarly, there are some economic you see bondages as well. For that, you will have to have a good employment so that you can earn livelihood for yourself and for your family. Then you can liberate. And society also, society to control also having different you see, bondages like that. The caste system or religious not being you see, understood properly. Those bondages shall have to be cleared by you see gurus, by our discussions, by our shastra only. When all these forces are, all these forces which are binding forces are dealt you see properly, cultured properly, and then you can liberate yourself, and society can you see can be liberated. That is the crux of moksha. For that, that's an objective for an individual, and that's an objective for the country as a whole also, Aditya. If country is always afraid of securing its boundaries, it's a weak country. So weak country cannot obtain see moksha as such. Country shall have to be see militarily it should be powerful so that you see no other country can aggress its boundaries like that. So then only that moksha can be see obtained like that. So moksha has got both connotations. It's an abstract form and you see it has got its body, physical body also. Moksha. One thing I would like to tell you about this dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, all four assets. And this I have developed like a matrix form asset. We are having 4 by 4 matrix, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha on the columns, dharma, artha, kama, moksha on the rows. So dharma there is artha, kama, and moksha. In artha, there is dharma, kama, and moksha. In kama, there is dharma, artha, and moksha. And moksha, dharma, artha, kama. Everything is intertwined. That is beauty of say, Indian literature. It is beauty of Indian philosophy. It is totally different. And an Indian philosopher also somewhere teach dharma differently, artha differently, kama differently, moksha differently. No, all I see interdependent or intertwined as such, but moksha is the ultimate objective, ultimate purpose of our life.
Thank
Yes,
you so
Aditya.
much, Professor Bajpai, for coming on the show
Thank you,
and
Aditya.
educating all of us. And thank you all the viewers for watching. Do comment on the video and let your feedback. Let us know your feedback. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.